I think that being a photographer in Portugal is really a big privilege in the sense that it's a country where text and literature has always been very important. It's a country that has a sense of narration. I really think that the quality of this award, I think, will say a lot about, talent in Portugal.
I think that a prize awarding stories instead of singles is very important, because it's difficult to make a story. It's a long work ahead. It's lots of research, and it really makes a difference in between a professional and an amateur. That's when you are really a journalist and the photographer.
Fazer uma fotografia isolada, decente, é muitas vezes produto das circunstâncias. Porque estás no sítio certo, no momento certo. Se tiveres que construir uma história, já é outra coisa, não é? Já tens que pensar, já tens que ver para onde é que vais, como é que a contas. Tens de ter coerência do ponto de vista temático, tens de ter coerência do ponto de vista fotográfico.
A fotografia jornalística é uma linguagem, não tem como uma gramática da escritura, tem regras que devem ser respeitadas. Em este sentido aqui nós temos muitas ocasiões de avaliar histórias completas.
Photojournalist is a photographer and a journalist. You have to be able to tell a story, document it with details, and in a very short caption, you have to be able the reader has to bounce off the picture into the caption and then go back to the picture saying, this is what it is. Then you go back into the picture, I see.
Como eu andei pela imprensa durante muitos anos, sempre achei que era necessário uma estrutura qualquer que pensasse, que servisse, digamos, de caso aos fotojornalistas. E veio um bocado daí o início da Estação Imagem.
Este edifício aqui, que é a antiga sede da Estação de Comboios, vai ser também a sede da Estação Imagem.
É a nossa contribuição da Câmara Municipal de Mora para darmos a conhecer não só o nosso concelho, neste caso muito mais visível através do Prémio em si, mas depois com a Bolsa, a nossa contribuição para darmos a conhecer todo o Alentejo. Nós estamos cá, somos alentejanos, temos muito orgulho nisso.
I have a very special capital de simpatia e interesse for Portugal, and I think I share that with the other members of the jury, and that was one of the reasons that we put this jury together. But I'm sure that each and every one of us learned a lot about Portugal. Yes, of course.
I got to know more about Portugal through the years of the photographers. I got to know about subjects that I didn't know about, social subjects in Portugal. I find that one very good. I don't know, what do you think about it?
What I think is that there is one very strong picture and other good pictures, but all together are not very. There are some.
When you bring together people who know about photography, it's a bit like music, It all starts off like in one way or another, and then, frankly, when things are good, people do agree. That's not bad, though. There's some photography in there at least. I would keep that.
Okay. The good stories, the good work emerges naturally. It's there. You see it. It goes. This is just. It's obvious. You don't have to think about it.
I would like to keep this because it's clearly applicable to a region, no, in some way. No?
Yeah, I like that. First series.
There is a vision, at least.
What makes a good picture story are lots of different elements, and I think it's also culturally identifiable. There's obviously the subject, of course. There's the atmosphere, because you want to take somebody somewhere, and I think that's very important. And you have different ways of looking at narration. You have a classical narration. I am very interested also in how you now can tell stories without a really classical narration, how you can tell a story without maybe a beginning and an end. Maybe, you know, there are other ways of telling stories. I mean, it is crisis for us because he has decided that he's saying to us that it's crisis. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here because I like the images a lot, but I mean, this obviously, it's in a woman walking in a road is the same thing, this is the same thing. So he's managed cinematographically to put us in the mood of crisis. So it's atmospheric.
That's what it should be called.
Yeah, it's an atmospheric feature, which is not something bad, it's something, you know, nice, but it's not an informative. I think for a country that is not so big, the variety was actually excellent.
I like this one. I like this one. Well, working for a magazine like Geo and being confronted every day with a kind of a high standard photography, I've been I've had a very good surprise here. I mean, I think the quality of the works I've been seeing is very high.
The weakest points, as always, it's when you find something good and then you repeat it. That is fatal. You know, because if you have a very good image and then you have one which is just very little less good, then you've killed the good one.
Some repetitions. This one.
Yeah.
There are three, and there have to be one.
Yeah, the editing. I'm an editor, so I go back to the editing. If we want to send a message out to photojournalists here, it's to tell them you don't have to, you know, travel to very far to find subjects that are very, you know, that can speak to everybody about our condition. So for me, this is one of the reasons I'm so attached to this subject in particular, this reportage in particular. We saw a lot of different quality, Some excellent things, some work which was where you saw talent, but you knew that the photographer could do more.
And so you could see that photographers went and maybe spent a day, but they didn't go back. And now you have to think about yourself with this trophy in your hand, and you are handing it over for these stories. It's not, it's really about awards now, yeah. And you also never know with the jury how things are going to go and what you are going to select, etc. But I thought that we found really interesting stories in each one of these categories. The main prize that we gave this year, I mean the first Estação Imagem award, which we're actually very proud of being the first one to give, we agreed upon that quite quickly. It was a really unanimous vision of a story that was not too identifiable in the categories. So it wasn't a news story, it wasn't only a feature story, it wasn't, etc. So it was a very good, it was an excellent subject, deep enough to really represent what we wanted to say about Portugal, and also really photographically strong. And we saw this subject in the beginning without really knowing what it was about. So everybody agreed upon finding it really good, well edited, well shot, atmospheric, not insisting too much, subtle. It really leaves you with kind of a taste of a region, of a country. And I guess Estação Imagem is also about being able to convey something about the region, not necessarily in nostalgia, but something that really goes deeper than stories that you would shoot for a normal newspaper or a magazine.
This prize, I think it's great, it's courageous to do that today, and I think it's necessary. It's a belief in storytelling, in photography, and I think there is lots to do.
Started off in an excellent fashion, develop, and I hope it will always be in Mora.
Tudo que se faça para fixar pessoas ou fixar interesse no Alentejo é super importante. E nisso nós tivemos imensa sorte em a Câmara de Mora entender que este projeto era importante para eles também, claro.
Creio que para esta primeira edição foi importantíssimo, foi extraordinária a forma como decorreu e queremos, logicamente, que se venha a repetir em anos subsequentes, porque isto é uma marca queremos que fique no Conselho de Mora.
It's more interesting to be able to influence something small, you know, a lot, I mean, modestly speaking, than something big with very little. So.
Essa iniciativa que eu acho que é um valor para a fotografia jornalística em Portugal, mas também no mundo. Eu gostaria de ver essas coisas multiplicadas muitas vezes nos diversos países.
Maybe, you know, this will change the life of some people in the Alentejo. Maybe we'll have photographers coming out from here, young people who will see these images. You know, you never know.
Bruno, vem